It began as an ordinary overcast morning on June 6, but on the grounds of the Royal Cornwall show an undercurrent of anticipation rippled through the crowd. Prince William, stepping out for the very first time as Duke of Cornwall, was about to appear alongside an unlikely partner, Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh. Two senior royals, bound not by marriage but by duty and a shared fondness for Britain's rural heartland, were about to give the public a rare double act. Viewers might have expected polite small talk and carefully staged photo ops. Instead, they witnessed a warm chemistry that turned a routine county show into a quietly revealing chapter of royal life. But why did this particular pairing matter, and what subtle messages were hidden beneath the smiles? William arrived dressed in a classic checked blazer, sky blue shirt and perfectly knotted tie, businesslike, yet relaxed enough for a day among tractors and prize cattle. Sophie chose a soft pink blouse, a panelled suede midi skirt and burgundy boots that whispered country chic with every step. The two greeted each other with an ease usually reserved for siblings, not distant in-laws. It had been almost 2 years since their last joint engagement, and a lot had changed. William had inherited the sprawling Duchy of Cornwall, while Sophie had become Duchess of Edinburgh after her husband, Prince Edward, received his late father's title. You could almost feel the recalibrated power dynamics in the air. They made a beeline for the food and farming pavilion, stopping every few yards to shake a farmer's hand, accept a child's card, or crouch down to stroke an excitable spaniel. Cameras clicked, the public cheered, and for a moment the royal mystique dissolved into genuine, human warmth. Yet the real story was only just beginning. As the duo reached a local gin stand, a stallholder offered 2 discreet paper cups of a small batch spirit, Cornish, potent and distinctly UN royal in its presentation. Would they politely decline, or did tradition allow for a midday tipple? The audience held its breath. William raised his cup first, the faintest sparkle of mischief in his eye. One cautious sip later, he turned to the assembled reporters. "I can see what today's going to be like," he laughed, hinting at the gin's surprising strength. It was the kind of off-script remark that instantly draws headlines, yet it felt authentic rather than staged. A beat passed. Viewers thought the moment was over, then Sophie, perhaps emboldened by the relaxed atmosphere, went back for an extra mouthful. William caught her in the act, pointed a theatrical finger and, with mock severity, warned, "You're not allowed to finish it." The gentle scolding landed somewhere between brotherly teasing and public banter. It was a glimpse of two royals taking their work seriously, but themselves less so. Why did that tiny exchange matter? Because royal watchers know the family rarely drinks, at least visibly, while on official duty. The unwritten rule is simple: never risk a headline that makes the crown look frivolous. Yet, as William himself quipped moments later, he'd been caught out with whiskey a few too many times, so perhaps experience had taught him where the line really lies. Sophie, quick as ever, shot back, "His learned from the best." The crowd laughed, and the tension broke. In that fleeting repartee, the duo managed to seem disciplined yet approachable, walking exactly the tightrope modern monarchy demands. Still, duty called. William is patron of the Royal Cornwall Agricultural Association, the very body that stages this century-old show. Sophie holds two complementary roles. She's patron of the Association of Agricultural Show Organizations and vice president of the Cornwall Association itself. Together they form a bridge between palace corridors and muddy showgrounds, a reminder that Britain's countryside underpins the crown's historic legitimacy. As they toured marquees brimming with Cornish cheeses, rare-breed sheep and towering dahlias, the pair's banter eased quietly into professional listening. They asked farmers about rising feed costs and chatted to artisan bakers about supply chain snags since Brexit and the pandemic. Each question landed with genuine curiosity, reinforcing the royals' promise to amplify rural voices. Then came another unscripted delight. A vendor pressed piping hot Cornish pasties into their gloved hands. William, mindful of nearby microphones, decided to save his for later. "Trying to talk and eat is a nightmare," he sighed, earning a sympathetic nod from Sophie, who nonetheless took a tiny bite the instant nobody was watching. Was it a breach of etiquette? Perhaps. But it also signaled that these two understood the unspoken contract of a county show: you don't refuse local hospitality. But what came next surprised everyone. The itinerary pointed them toward Healy's cider farm stand, home of the famously robust Rattler cider that has toppled many a university freshman. William approached the counter, eyed the display of cloudy bottles and said, half wistful, half warning, "Everyone remembers where they were when they had their first Rattler. You remember the first, you never remember the last." The remark was playful, yet it carried a deeper resonance. Cornwall is now his duchy to oversee, acknowledging its youthful rites of passage, hinted that he grasps its culture beyond spreadsheets and land deeds. For Sophie, the cider stop offered another chance to lean into her down-to-earth image. She listened intently as the producer explained fermentation times and apple varieties, occasionally chiming in with questions that revealed a surprising level of technical knowledge. Remember, this is the same Duchess who has quietly championed agricultural shows for years, shepherding them through funding crises and pandemic cancellations. Watching her discuss tannin levels with a cider maker, one sensed she was on home turf, not borrowed glamour. Here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. At several points during the visit, William and Sophie appeared to swap traditional roles. He cracked jokes, she played the meticulous note-taker, he handled small children with ease, she tackled in-depth policy chats with local councillors. The dynamic felt less like senior and junior partner and more like two seasoned pros who understood when to lead and when to support. Was this a glimpse of the monarchy's future, fluid, collaborative, less concerned with strict hierarchies? Royal aides won't say, but body language can speak louder than press releases. Of course, no modern royal outing is complete without a subtle nod to the institution's challenges. King Charles's ongoing cancer treatment has forced the younger generation to shoulder more public appearances, and William's duchy now funds charitable initiatives across southwest England. Every handshake and every humorous aside doubled as reassurance. The monarchy intends to remain visible, personable and attuned to regional concerns even as court life shifts behind palace walls. And that's when things started to change. Late in the afternoon, crowds noticed the sky clearing and the press pack thinning, but William and Sophie lingered, drifting toward the livestock pens. There, beneath the bleating of award-winning sheep, they spoke at length to a farming couple whose land had been ravaged by recent floods. No cameras intruded on this exchange, but onlookers nearby overheard words of sympathy and promises to raise the issue with relevant ministers. It was a sober contrast to the earlier gin jokes, proof that beneath the surface frivolity lay a mission to draw attention to rural hardships. As the sun finally dipped, the pair prepared to leave. Yet William paused, glancing back toward the food hall as though reluctant to let the day end. He shook Sophie's hand in a gently exaggerated gesture, the sort you give a friend when private laughter threatens to spill into a formal goodbye. That moment, small but telling, conveyed camaraderie, commitment and a shared sense of purpose. Perhaps the public sensed it too. Applause rippled across the showground, heartfelt rather than obligatory. So what does it all add up to? A glass of local gin, a confiscated second sip, a tale of past and present cider adventures, and the ongoing dance between protocol and personality. In fewer than 8 hours, Prince William and the Duchess of Edinburgh managed to balance centuries-old expectations with flashes of ordinary relatability. They reminded Britain that its royals can laugh without losing dignity, break bread or pastry without breaking trust, and champion agriculture while still looking impeccably tailored. Will this outing shift public opinion? Time will tell. Yet one thing is undeniable. The Royal Cornwall Show of 2025 will be remembered not only for prize-winning cattle or record-breaking floral displays, but for a duet that blended formality and spontaneity into something genuinely watchable. If the Crown's future relies on keeping audiences engaged, be they in crowded showgrounds or on smartphones around the world, then William and Sophie just delivered a quietly masterful proof of concept. And who knows? The next time you spot the Duke of Cornwall near a craft gin stall, you might wonder, with a smile, whether he's remembering the day a duchess almost outsipped him in front of the entire county. Stay tuned, because in royal storytelling, the smallest moments often foreshadow the biggest shifts.